Okay, thank all of y'all for coming. My name is Reggie Dupre. I'm the Executive Director of the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District. We're here on this beautiful day for 3 reasons. First, to dedicate the Grand Bayou Floodgate in Lafourche Parish near Cutoff of La Rose in honor of the late State Representative Reggie Bagala. Those pictures are all to my left on this side. Secondly, we're doing the groundbreaking for the Houma Navigational Canal lock complex, which is many, many years in the making, and those pictures are right behind me. And third, I think just as important, is to recognize our Hurricane Ida recovery efforts. And you'll see the posters here of during the hurricane, the camera on this floodgate continued snapping pictures every 6 minutes, and you can see a time lapse of what happened and the repairs right after it. So welcome. The first thing we'll do is call Father, please stand for invocation and remain standing for presentation of colors and the pledge. Father Charles Perkins will give us invocation.
Our Father.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty God and Father, as we gather on this beautiful day, we ask that your Spirit continue to be with all of us. As your Spirit moves so often, we ask that Spirit continues to be a source of strength for the protection of the people in this area and further into the different parishes. We realize that oftentimes the beauty of nature seems so beautiful at one point and so destructive at another. And yet, in the midst of it, we strive to do what we can to keep your will and to do the best that we can. May these locks serve as a barrier, but as they open their way to water, may they open the way to your grace and your blessings. May you continue to be with us today as we are here for this ceremony, and be with us throughout each and every day as we ask your blessing upon us, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Thank you, Father. Please remain standing. I will have the presentation of colors, and we'll call up Mr. Leeward Sue Henry, Vice President of Terrebonne Levee District, for the Pledge of Allegiance after. Forward. Left, right. Left, right. Walk time, pull. On the guard, pull. Left, peace. Mr. Sue Henry, can you come up here? Lead us in the pledge, please. Mr. Sue is 91 years old and has been a member of the Levee District since 1986. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Forward, forward. Left, right, left. Thank you. Please be seated. Now we call Tony Alford for recognition of special guest and welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Reggie. Reggie told me to keep it brief. That's an oxymoron coming from him. So first off, I want to introduce a lot of the people that are here right now that had tremendous amount to do with this whole project taking place. First off, Governor Edwards. Thank you, Tom. With all the Democrat and Republican crazy stuff going on today, I always tell people I think it's the very far right and the very far left that cause all the problems. Most of us in here have a lot in common, and getting this protection is one of them. I've never, ever had seen the governor have politics come between him helping us to protect the public. And I want to thank you so much for that. Chip Klein. Chip has been tremendous with the CPRA. We know what a great job Chip has done. Thank you so much, Chip. Brent Haas, thank you, Brent. Ignacio, CPRA as well as Brent. Casey Daigle, GoSell. Colonel Murphy, can't say enough about Colonel Murphy and General Kaiser before. We couldn't have done a lot of this at this point and all the things that are coming. We appreciate that so much. Thank you. Mark Wingate. Mark, I've been a pain, and you know what, right? My wife's been trying to get me not to say anything bad these days, but Glenda, hey Glenda, how you doing? My wife and my children, thank you. Right? Every time I say the F word, she gets $100. She's able to buy a lot of stuff right now. I'm working on it though. Gordon Dove. Gordon, I can't say enough about Gordy and all the help that he's been and from the very beginning. Thanks a lot for putting me on the levee board and taking me away from deer hunting in Kansas. I appreciate that. Archie Chasson. Archie, thank you for all your help and assistance. Philip Martin. Philip with the school board superintendent. Hey, Philip, thanks for coming. Mike Fessy. Mike, one of our state senators. Beryl Amity, state rep. Hey, Beryl. And these two guys aren't here, but I definitely have to mention them because they had a lot to do with the funding that we got. And that's Jerome Zarang and Tanner McGee. Had a tremendous amount to do with all this, and I have to say their names. Joe Angeron, state rep. Where you at, Joe? Saw you early. Thank you. Brian Fontenot, state rep. Hey, Brian. Henri's helping us get this thing going, right? Jack Moore. Jack, one of my commissioners, who's finance chairman. Thanks, Jack. Jack's the one that didn't accept any funding when we joined it, and I could have put my kids through college. Thanks, Jack. It's 18 years ago, huh? And Sue Henry. Sue was the very first appointed levee board guy in the whole parish, right? Huh, Sue? You said you got some paperwork from Mr. Chabert, and you weren't quite sure what it was, right? Putting you on the levee board. Thank you, Sue, for all you do. Jeff Daisy took his buddy Daisy's place. That's Buddy's son. Can't say enough about your dad either, Jeff, how involved he's been. Carl Chauvin. Hey, Carl. Lulin Petrie. Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District Councilman, attorney. Jacob DeGate, that's our attorney. Danny Babin, Danny with the council. Dirk Guidry with the council, Terrebonne Council. Mike Henry. Hey, Mike, one of our helps up in Washington. Hey, Mike, you made it. I didn't even see you. All right. Tim Saunier. Where you at, Tim? Thanks, Tim, for coming. Our sheriff. Let's see, Christy Knockan, Executive Director at SCIA. Father Perkins. Thank you, Farley. Did a great job. Thank you. Dwayne Bourgeois. Well, yeah, Dwayne. Thank you, Dwayne. Dwayne also sits on the CPRA, in addition to Executive Director over at the North Lafourche Levee Board. Mr. Ronald Calais. Mr. Ronald, you've been my mentor. I've been trying to measure up to you. You know, he's been president. How long, Mr. Ronald? 22 years he's been president of the South Lafourche Levee Board. Thank you for all you do. Wendell Curall. Wendell's been taking orders from Mr. Calais for that long or maybe longer, huh? Thank you, Wendell. Dr. Wendell. You're a doctor now, right? Honorary doctor? Hey, there you are. Sorry, man. Terry Araby. Herbert Fish. Nikki Calais. Tyler DePlantis. Marissa Bagala. Bagala family, thank you so much for coming. And thank you for allowing your husband to work with us and make a lot of this happen. Thank you. Bill Hidalgo. Hey, Mr. Bill. And that's with St. Mary Levee Board. Mike Boccato, along with the Levee Board. And Clyde Hamner. Thank you all for coming. I would just like to say a couple of words. This is a project that years ago, there was a lot of people that said this project could not be built. Huh, Jack? They said it couldn't happen. The price escalated to $10 billion. Then it definitely couldn't happen, right? Started at $500 million. Then it went to $800 million. And then it went to $10 billion after Rita and Katrina. So us coming up with 35% of that, $3.5 billion, And the federal government coming up with the amount that they have to make up the difference just was not going to happen. And through cooperation with the Corps of Engineers, the CPRA, with you guys, and a lot of our people, we were able to get that price down to something that was reasonable enough to get this project complete. And this is a joyous day. This is a beautiful day. And this is, we always talk about Lafourche and Terrebonne, North Lafourche and South Lafourche working together. This is working together. We are in it. And thank God that the guys that have been building levees way before we got to build some, all of us working together, there's nothing going to stop us. We're going to get this project built. And I appreciate everybody in here and the people who are no longer here. And thank you all.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Next, we'll have call up Mr. Chip Klein to introduce the governor. I just want to mention, Governor, if you remember, early 2016, we made that sign. We said we're going to reuse it time and time again. Here it is again.
Yep, thank you. Thank you, Reggie. Let me first say that this event was being held in Dulac just so Reggie and Gordy could stop for fried chicken at Sienna's on the way home. So just can't help myself, Gordy. I just can't help myself. During Governor Edwards' first State of the State address for his second term, he said this. He said, over the next 4 years, we will break ground on projects that will ultimately build more land in South Louisiana than we expect to lose. And that's the first time any sitting governor has been able to say that. And upon hearing the governor say that, Reggie Bagala turned around, he found me in the House chamber, he looked at me, he smiled, and he gave me a thumbs up. And that's the last time I saw Reggie. And that's how I'm going to remember Reggie, is serving others, cheering people on with a smile. And so, Ms. Marissa, I can't tell you how glad I am that you and your family are here to witness this event. It's good to see you all and meet many members of your family. So we're currently standing, ladies and gentlemen, what Reggie refers to as the crown jewel of the Morganza to the Gulf Hurricane Protection System. A system that spans Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes, includes levees, floodgates, and locks designed to protect over 1,900 square miles of a critically important area in our state. As we stand here in front of the massive Bubba Dove floodgate, I am reminded of all of the work that has been put in to making today possible. Work that has literally, as Tony just mentioned, spanned years, decades in the making. And so if you're a member of the levee board or an employee of the levee board or work for parish governments, work within the Corps of Engineers, work within the CPRA, you're a member of the Morganza Action Coalition, or if you're just a member of the general public, all of you have played a part in making this happen. Because I know one of the things that I'm most proud of is that the people of Terrebonne and Lafourche have time and time again taxed themselves to make days like today possible. And we were reminded earlier this year just how important investments like these are. A completely different picture on the ground following Hurricane Ida than the picture we saw on the ground following Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Rita many years ago. And so, to put simply, the projects that the governor is going to be announcing today are game changers for the Bayou region. I'm proud to join you today as we make meaningful progress on a safer and better protected future for the Louisianans that live in this vital region. Also, if I could, Tony did mention Ignacio Haruch, who's here, our Chief of Operations, who's got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the Morganza of the Gulf, and James McMinnis, the project manager for Morganza, who's not feeling well, was not able to be with us. And so, look, all of us can be involved in this effort. All of us can be supportive of these investments. But if we don't have a governor that supports these investments, then quite frankly, they don't really matter, because the buck stops with him. he is the ultimate decision maker when it comes to this. And thankfully for us, we have a governor who has continued to prioritize hurricane protection and coastal restoration since he has been in office. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce the governor of our great state, Governor John Bel Edwards.
Thank you, Chip. Appreciate it.
Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. What a beautiful day we've been blessed with today. I will tell you, there's been more sunshine here since I've been sitting in this chair than there was in Scotland all last week. Scotland was a beautiful place, but it wasn't sunshiny, not while I was there. I want to thank y'all. I really do. I want to start there. And really, Chip, I think, said it right. It's everybody. It's the leaders of Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes. It's the taxpayers. It's the folks involved in the levee districts and so forth who have really made this possible. But I also want to thank Chip and the work that's been done at the CPRA, because they have been extremely busy, and they do an awful lot of good work and hard work, and they do a great job of working with people in the parishes and at all of the various levee districts. And so, Chip, I want to thank you and all the folks at CPRA as well. Hundreds of millions of dollars from the state and from taxes of the residents of Terrebonne Parish, for example. That's what's brought us here, and of course Lafourche Parish as well. And of course these milestones are made more important because we see the protection that they actually give us when we need them. And look, Ida was awful. It's just awful. But the protection given by the levee systems really was exceptional. And it turned into primarily a wind event if you were in a protected area. And we put Gordy in charge of figuring out how to protect against the wind better. That one's going to be tough. But I will tell you, we know we've got a long way to go in the recovery, and we're working hard every single day, again, with local officials and so forth. And we are going to make sure that the communities are built back stronger than they were before. And in fact, next week, I'll be back in Washington on Monday and Tuesday, because we still have work to do to get the funding necessary to recover, both as it relates to last year's storms in southwest Louisiana and certainly this year's storms in southeast Louisiana. Now, about this magnificent 250-foot Bubba Dove floodgate. The structures tying into it, the earthworks that you see on either side and the levees themselves are all the results of the work that you've done to roll up your sleeves over the last several years. And it is the result of visionary leadership. Leadership that really takes its responsibility seriously and knows that it's here to serve the public, especially those who need help. And we have other partners as well, and sitting at the table with us today is Colonel Steve Murphy. Steve, understand your command was extended for a little while. We're glad to keep you for a bit. But the fact that the Corps of Engineers is here today shows that they're joining the fight, and I appreciate that. And they have done a tremendous work partnering with us in so many different respects, and certainly that's going to include down here on the Morganza to the Gulf. So the projects that we spotlight here today really are game changers for this waterway, the entire Morganza to the Gulf protection system. And, you know, they performed extremely well. I don't think there was a place where we had a failure or an overtopping even. I mean, think about that. No overtopping even of this levee system. Adding a lock adjacent to the Bubba Dove floodgate will transform this into a fully functioning complex to be known as the Houma Navigation Channel Lock Complex. The lock is going to provide greater flexibility for commercial and recreational boat traffic, so that even when the complex is closed, the lock will be operational and enable the passage of vessels as long as conditions safely allow. This alternative route of passage will allow officials to close the Bubba Dove earlier when the Gulf storm surge is pushing up the HNC, and keep it closed longer if need be. Therefore, this lock is more than just a gateway for navigation. By blocking the surging Gulf waters and allowing the Bubba Dove floodgate to be closed earlier and longer, homes and businesses in Terrebonne Parish will be better protected. And so will the wetlands that are continually threatened by saltwater. This project is going to be phased. Phase 1 is the dredging of the lock channel to accommodate large vessels. And Chip, it's my understanding that the beneficial use of the dredge material will be sufficient to create about 178 acres of marshland. And then phase 2, the design of which will be complete some point in 2022, and we think the work will actually start at the end of 2022, will be the construction of the lock structure. The total investment is $350 million. $350 million. That's a lot of money, even today in 2021. Engineering, design, and construction of phases 1 and 2 are being paid for with funds resulting from the aftermath of the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill, allocated through the Resources and Ecosystem Sustainability, Tourist Opportunities, and Revived Economies of the Gulf Coast States Act, which that's why we always call it the Restore Act. I just thought y'all might be interested in knowing what Restore actually stands for. The lock complex is the largest Restore Act project currently in construction anywhere in the state of Louisiana. And I think that speaks for itself when we say that we take protection and restoration very seriously in Louisiana. And so I'm excited about that project. And then the other reason that we're here today is to celebrate the completion of the 147-foot Grand Bayou floodgate, which means that the Morganza to the Gulf system now has a continuous levee segment stretching 47 miles from Grand Bayou in Lafourche Parish to Upper Bayou de Large in Terrebonne Parish. The $20 million barge gate is being paid for with $18.5 million funds from GOMESA, and that's the Gulf of Mexico Energy Security Act, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, got it. And then $1.5 million in capital outlay as well. The construction is a result of a wonderful working collaboration between CPRA and the South and North Lafourche levee districts and the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District. It's fitting, I think, that the floodgate bears the name of this area's staunch defender, the late State Representative Reggie Bagala, who passed away from COVID-19 in April of 2020. I think you all know this. It doesn't need to be said, except that it's appropriate to say it. He left us far too soon, not just in terms of his age, but in terms of his service to the state and the state legislature, which had just started. And I want to thank the Bagala family for being here today. Marissa, thank you all very much. You all know better than I that Reggie stood firmly on the side of the people, businesses, and the culture of this area. And he was really, really proud to be from the Bayou country. This Grand Bayou floodgate stands in his memory, helping the Morganza to the Gulf system protect 1,900 square miles of this cherished land that he called home. And I can only believe that he is smiling down on us today. And speaking of smiling, Gordy Dove always smiles when we have an event like this too. And it is my pleasure to call on and introduce Terrebonne Parish President Gordy Dove. Thank you, Gordy.
Thank you, Governor. And Governor, anytime you come along and give us $350 million, you can come to Terrebonne, sir. You know, first I'd like to welcome Governor John Bell Edwards, Chairman Chip Klein, and the people of Terrebonne Parish and Lafourche. And of course, I'd be remiss if I don't mention Mona, my wife, and all my children are here, along with some of my 22 grandchildren. And we have a new one here, Hendrix James, that my wife's holding on for one of my daughters back there. And you know, this is what this gate is all about. It's about their future and the future of all our children and grandchildren. And you know, I served with John Bell Edwards for 8 years in the legislature. And as governor, there was no one quicker to come and back Terrebonne, Lafourche, and the state of Louisiana on coastal restoration projects, hurricane projects, and other projects, and I thank you, Governor. And Chip Klein, all the way back from Garrett Graves, Chip Klein, and of course Jerome Zarang, who's not here, was the executive director. You know, 8 years ago, we started moving this, trying to get this money to move from the BP fine money, and out of it was originally the money was $450 million to build the lock system and retrofit the Bubba Dove, and today it's a reality. Thanks to these gentlemen here, our legislators, and our past legislators, one of them being Norby Jabert, who's not here. Norby was on natural resources when it happened, and you know, we never gave up. We pushed. Reggie Dupre, no one pushed harder than Tony Alford. I mean, I don't know where Tony's over here. And, you know, and then we turned around and it happened. And it just didn't happen by chance of luck. It happened by everyone sitting here and in this audience pushing it and never giving up to have a project of this magnitude. Because remember, this is also a saltwater intrusion, freshwater diversion, environmental lock system that when we have a south wind, we're not flooding everyone to the north, especially the people with low land of 2 feet or so. And of course, special thanks to the levee board, Reggie Dupre, Tony Alford, and the North and South Lafourche levee boards for the great project they have done. And another thing this project does that a lot of people don't realize is economically, it allows us to move forward with the deepening, which that is happening as we speak. The engineering is awarded to go ahead and for the land location, pipelines, et cetera, and that's another thing wouldn't have happened without the governor and DOT TD Sean Wilson, who's not here today, but thanks, Sean. And that's moving forward. With 20-foot navigable, which means about 23-foot water, right now the Homer now is 15-foot navigable. We can get bigger vessels in here. Bigger vessels means more jobs. And thank our delegation for pushing it, keeping it going. And you know, we've seen Terrebonne Parish we've added 25 pump stations to Terrebonne Parish, one being the Elliott Jones, which is 1,000 CFS. There again, the governor gave us, CPRA gave us $10 million, and we're under construction to that day. And that a round of applause, if please. I mean, what you know, the money that's come here since this Governor Chip Klein and CPRA was created is unbelievable. We can go back to the Hanson, which is funded by Terrebonne Parish for $15 million, and $5 million on the Elliott Jones and the state $10 million. But we're looking at $80 million on Bayou Shane, which is totally funded and almost complete. $20 million for the Reggie Bagala Floodgate, and my heart goes out to him and his family, and God bless y'all. And you know, I lost my son, Bubba Dove, in March 29th, 2009, and it's just something that no one should have to endeavor. Me, my family, everyone sitting here, you know, we've mourned for 12 years now, and it doesn't go away. And it's, you know, I thank the name of the Bubba Dove on this structure, and he's forever missed. And the Bagala family, you know, the Reggie, I've gone to lunch with Reggie. Reggie Bagala, I've got to know him before he was elected and after he was elected, and he's going to be sorely missed. And you know, we got a 1-2 punch from COVID-19, Hurricane Ida, and we got hit twice. One by the COVID, and another by Hurricane Ida, which is either Cat 4 or 5. I don't think they've added it up yet. And as you can see by the pictures here, you had 18-foot waves hitting this right here. This is how important these gates are. But the thing is, this is what's called a reverse head from the inside. And you know, we've come a long way. Terrebonne Parish received 20 inches of rain, and our pump stations held. And I want to thank my council members who's here also. I'm looking at them, and Mike Toops, the general manager of the parish. And in closing, you know, with this lock system, over $1 billion have been spent, local, state, and Colonel, I know we're looking at some federal money coming this way, and We look forward to y'all expediting it as much as humanly possible, and we'll be glad to help you. And look, and God bless our veterans, Terrebonne Parish, Lafourche Parish, the state of Louisiana, and the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of you. Our gate is started, and Terrebonne and Lafourche is a safer place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, this is a two-parish event. We will give equal time to our partners in Lafourche Parish.
You know, when Henri reached out and said we had 3 minutes, I said, well, you tell Gordy and Reggie they only get 3 minutes, and I'll try to hold mine to that as well. Governor, thank you for being here today. Chip, Colonel Murphy, all of the guests who are here with us today. You know, besides, I think, Gordy's newest grandson over there, I'm probably the youngest one in the room when it comes to these levee projects. And it's very humbling to stand here today in the path of everyone who has come before. You know, since Ida, the last 60 days, a lot of conversations have been had about why we continue to spend money into projects like this, into projects like the Grand Bayou Floodgate, what Wendell and Dwayne do every day in North and South Lafourche. It's because of the grandsons. It's because of your children and your grandchildren that we continue to do that. It's for the good paying jobs for our citizens and the culture, the survival of our culture in Terrebonne and Lafourche that we do this every day. So it's very humbling to be here today. You know, last year for Hurricane, which one was it out of the 8, Chip? I don't even remember anymore. And we sunk a temporary barge in Grand Bayou in the place that the Grand Bayou Floodgate is now. And that was the first time that the residents of Pointe-à-Chamberg did not have water in their yards from a tropical event. Knowing that this gate is going to be here from now until my great-great-grandchildren are still living in Lafourche, knowing that they will not have water is a great day. It's also a really great day that we get to name this thing after Reggie. And when the other Reggie called me last night and said, look, we got everything put together but a picture of him. We need a picture. So we found that picture this morning and had it printed, and he wrote in the back seat of my car all the way over here, which was a little weird to have him back behind me again. But he fought so hard for our community. And he really did love, I think, 3 things, and I'll go in this order. Marissa and Tristan and his family, the LSU Tigers, which, I don't know, you guys might have bounced between 1 and 1, depending on who was winning that year. And then his constituent in South Lafourche and Lafourche Parish. He fought hard every day for the people. He did it in his day-to-day work for Lafourche Parish government. He did it tremendously after he was elected to the state legislature. And I continue to say that he does it now as our guardian angel. So to dedicate this floodgate after him today is just awesome. I know that he's smiling down. I know that he's watching over us. And although he probably doesn't like that his name is on it, because he wasn't that type of guy, it's a proud day to do it. So for everyone, Governor, again, thank you for all your hard work. Chip, for all the money that is poured into Terrebonne and Lafourche. We hope to continue to do it. And Chip, you and I know Colonel Murphy got his orders extended. Hopefully you can get yours extended sometime soon too, because you seem to be the guy who keeps bringing back the money, and I don't think I feel like breaking in another one, so you got to stick around for a while. Thank you, everybody, for being here. God bless you.
Thank you. Now we'll call Colonel Stephen Murphy, Commander, New Orleans District Corps of Engineers.
So good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here today. It really is an honor to represent the Corps of Engineers and the New Orleans District, especially so because it recognizes yet another important achievement in this system, and I would call it one of our nation's most important, if not most battle-tested flood risk reduction systems. So after experiencing Hurricane Ida just 71 days ago, 71 days, not to mention the incredible hurricane season we had last year, you just mentioned, it's hard, especially from my point of view as a local commander for the Corps of Engineers, it's hard to overstate the value of this investment or to understate the hard work and dedication that it's taken to get to where we are today. And I think its remarkable performance just 71 days ago is a testament to all the men and women, many of you here and in the audience and to my left and right, who have worked tirelessly to fund it, to design it, to construct it, to operate it, and even now to repair it. And from my point of view, along with the state of Louisiana, the local levee districts and governments, your efforts to reduce the risk from hurricanes for the residents around here, in my experience, is truly unparalleled in the United States. I am proud to be a partner here with you. Fortunately, the Corps' role is quickly growing closer to participating in actual boots-on-the-ground construction, as you've already heard. This year, the project saw a significant achievement, if you did not realize it, in that it received nearly $12.5 million in New Start federal construction appropriations, the first federal investment in construction dollars in the project's long history. And with these funds, right now we're executing a project partnership agreement with the state, and then that'll be done by the end of this year, and that'll be followed by a contract early next year to place approximately 110,000 cubic yards of fill and install wick drains for Humboldt Canal. And this work is essential for establishing the foundation for future flood wall construction and levee tie-ins, as well as the beginning of the federal investment here. And while $12.5 million is much less than what is needed, I can tell you, just like you've heard today, the future federal investment is even more promising. The Corps is very hopeful that additional funds will be appropriated through this project through acts such as the $5.71 billion Hurricane Ida supplemental, the $17 billion Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, as well as the Corps' FY22 work plan, which is the largest in the Corps' history. When these funds arrive, you have my personal commitment that Morganza to the Gulf will be one of our highest priorities, and that my team and I are ready and willing to deliver right here alongside of you. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today, and thank you so much for the partnership that you've allowed the Corps to have with you.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you. Next, the last speaker we have before going into the ceremony portion is Mr. Wendell Curell, General Manager, South Lafourche Levee District. But first, let me mention this. Back in my old days when I was a state senator, Wendell, after Hurricane Katrina and Rita, started putting dirt on the levees in South Lafourche. He received a letter to stop, and I called him up. I said, please do not stop. I'll bring you peanuts in jail, but please don't stop. And because of his persistence, it saved the entire southern portion of Lafourche Parish with zero flooding, with an event that had up as much as 16 foot of tidal surge. So Wendell, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Reggie. Reggie just mentioned post-Katrina. I mean, we didn't know what direction our state was going. And thanks to Reggie and his experience of growing up in Pointe-au-Chien and working with the legislature and knowing how to work with people, nothing like what you see happening right now with the Democrats and the Republicans, just working with everybody to get good solutions. This state would not be where it is today in a good way without the legislation that Reggie put together. And I'll give him a hand for that. That's a big deal. That's a big, big deal. In fact, that's one of the reasons in South Lafourche we work with Reggie. He did things that helped everybody, but especially us. We have Ronald, board president over here. We have Roland Guidry over here, another board member that wasn't introduced because he came in a little late. Thank you, Roland, for showing up. But Ronald and I would talk about Morganza. Well, it wasn't Morganza. It was a levee system in Terrebonne. We know how hard it is to build flood protection, how much it costs, the legalities involved, and to look at the number of bayous in Terrebonne and the stretch and the in-between where the ridges were. And, I remember Ronald saying, do you think they can actually do it? And I said, yeah, if you want to. People talk about the engineering in the Netherlands. Well, there isn't any better engineering in the Netherlands. There's nothing better in the Netherlands except one thing, and that's the will to get it done. Now, unfortunately, in 1953, 80% of the Netherlands flooded. From that point on, they said, never again. They invested the same percentage of their gross national product in flood protection as we do in the United States in military. Well, we haven't been able to get that commitment, but locally, we have been having that commitment. And again, thank the governor. I mean, I was just really impressed when we had the meeting talking about Grand Bayou, coming in saying, we're going to get it done. And it's done. Reggie, met with Reggie, and he just got elected. And I remember met him at El Paso and Raceland to talk about the levee. Well, everything I said, he already knew. And I knew I didn't have to say anything more. It was going to be done. He was going to back us 100%. And just a shame, I tell you, I kept track of what was going on in the hospital. It was just a sad loss. But we've been very fortunate. Our elected officials, I see Lulin over here. I see the senator here, and including Reggie. Number one thing they did, they appointed great people on our board. To do the hard things you have to do. Ronald has lost some business because he made the hard decisions when we needed to get the best material and the least costly material. And it's that type of thing that you see happening in Terrebonne and North Lafourche. Dwayne and Reggie, when they showed up, man, talk about expand what we could do with the expertise that both of them had. The three of us have been able to really help the area a lot because of that going on. But this floodgate, this lock, when you stop and think about what you need in a community, you need the economy, you need infrastructure, you need a good environment. The floodgate here takes care of floodwaters coming up. But now with the lock system, you can do environmental work, you can keep the salt water out and move the fresh water where you need to. And then when you're doing flood protection, you can still move your navigation through. And that's the biggest step with this over here. Then with Grand Bayou, you now close the other big hole in the system. The most efficient way to flood people with those channels. You have this closed, and now we have Grand Bayou closed. So it's a great cooperation. I'm kind of like, all the water got taken out of the well when you're the last speaker. All right. But I just want to tell you that the important thing with doing all this work, we're talking flood protection work right now, but with everything, be better today than yesterday, and be better tomorrow than today. That's what we promise our people. We can't promise they won't flood, but we can promise we're going to reduce the chance of flooding every day and every dollar that we get. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendell. Now I would like to acknowledge and special thanks to members of our entire legislative delegation. All of them were invited. Some of them are present. We have Senator Mike Fessie's here, Brian Fontenot, Joe Orgeron, Beryl Amadi. Those who are not here or that could not make it is Senator Brent Arlam, District 21, State Rep Tanner McGee, Senate Speaker Pro Tem, and Representative Jerome Zerang, District 52, Chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. Thank you all very much for your support. Without the governor, administration, and you guys, none of this would have happened. We wouldn't be $1 billion into building a hurricane protection system. Now moving on to the federal government taking this thing over, which we all began almost 30 years ago. Next, we will have the unveiling and the cutting of the ribbon by Mrs. Bagala at the plaque. So I'm ask all members of the state legislature to walk over to the plaque along with Mrs. Bagala, and I think they have some scissors to cut the ribbon.
Well, it's an honor to be here representing District 54. Thank Marissa for her support during my campaign after Reggie's untimely passing. I know I'm told so many times in this position, you got big shoes to fill, and I know that I do, and I'm trying to do my best to live up to it. But I know y'all said it several times, Reggie's smiling down from above, and I honestly do believe it. And the one thing that's come really clear is how well, you've seen it mentioned several times, how well the various levee districts, North Lafourche, South Lafourche, and Terrebonne work together to get things done along with the state and CPRA. And to me, that's the most important thing, is the cooperation that we've had to get these projects done and protect the people of South Louisiana. So, Reggie, thank you very much. Thank you all.
On behalf of the Bagala family, my son, his mom, and all of us that are here today, we'd like to thank all of you for honoring Reggie in this way. He wouldn't only be smiling, he would be laughing. You know that. He had the big laugh. But this is such an honor, because anyone that knew Reggie, or if you had the opportunity to just meet Reggie, one of the first things that you would have realized with Reggie was his love for his culture in South Lafourche. Reggie ran, one of the major reasons was so that he could protect and fight to protect his bayou, his beloved people, because he wanted to make sure he could ensure a place for all of our children to live and our future grandchildren to live, because that area was so special to him and meant so much to him. And as I told Archie, he wouldn't have been in the back seat, he would have been driving. And one other thing he truly loved was his tarpons. So again, I would like to thank all of you for making this possible and honoring Reggie in such an important way with something that he believed in so much, protecting our coast, our bayous, and all the people of South Louisiana. Thank you. And thank you, Governor.